Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles presented by Easton Roofing. A few things coalesced for me to decide to make this 493rd podcast of the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Yes, we're almost at 500, about me, a conversation with me. I was home last weekend in Framingham, Massachusetts, saying goodbye to the home that I grew up in and gathering with family and emptying the house and working together and doing all those kind of things. And it puts you in a reflective mood. And, of course, coming up on 500 podcasts as well and looking ahead to the future as we navigate our way past COVID, which had such a tremendous impact on, well, everybody, and certainly any small business like this one that was created in November of 2018 was deeply affected by that. So all kinds of things for me to think about, reflect back on, look ahead to, and perhaps solicit some suggestions from you as to how the Reasonably Irreverent podcast and DannyClinkscale.com can improve and continue to provide great entertainment for you. So a little bit of a conversation between me and you, the Reasonably Irreverent podcast, DannyClinkscale.com, and all things like that. Coming up next on Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. You know, the storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Visions' goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from WreckExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit WreckExpert.com and learn more. We're here once again with Dr. Brad Woodle from Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Springtime, good weather's finally here. People want to stay active, and it's your job to make sure that they can stay active, and be healthy.
Danny, we see a lot of not just weekend warriors, but people that every day are having that want to get back to activity. Whether you're starting with walking, jogging, or maybe that first 5K of the year, we want to help you out. We specialize in taking care of all ages, from kids all the way to grandmas and grandpas, but absolutely specialize in getting you back to full function and keeping you in great shape.
So in short, how do we go about doing that?
The first thing is to schedule a consultation with one of our doctors and therapists so we can see how you move and how you're supposed to move. Based on our assessment, we can put together a short treatment plan and a set of goals to help you both feel better, function better, and most importantly, stay better for this year and many years to come.
Learn more at asfca.com/Danny. That's asfca.com/Danny. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back, and I have had a long and, if you were going to be really elaborate, storied broadcast career. Certainly not as storied as many, but storied enough that I wrote some stories about it in a book called Leaving Cancer for the Circus. And stay tuned. You might have a chance to grab a copy of that. And I started broadcasting really from the day I can even remember about anything else. I did some broadcasting from the age of 5. I was paid to broadcast for the first time when I was 7 years old. I became a professional broadcaster, obviously, after college, but I was doing it during college. About the only time I didn't do it was probably in high school, I guess, during that particular period of time. I wasn't going to the radio and TV station with my dad anymore. And then, of course, the career path wove through upstate New York and back here to the Midwest and KMBZ and WHB, and eventually things will change. And that happened in early 2018 when I parted ways with WHB, and although I still do some contract work there, in fact, we'll be there today doing a broadcast as well, but it creates a situation where if you are deciding that you don't want to retire, which I didn't, then you have to look around and weigh your options and decide what you want to do. And what I do best and what I like doing best is broadcasting and writing and doing things like that. So the decision was made to create DannyKlinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And what I wanted to do was do something that was familiar to people, but also challenging for me and a little bit different. And I think I was successful in trying to create a template that was like that. And what I wanted to do was have a variety of different things that would not only be podcasts, but writing. What has evolved a little bit is what you find out and looking through analytics and things like that, that people do like to listen to things these days a lot more than they like to read them. So my blog output has probably dropped about 50% since the outset. When we stopped going to the movies, I basically stopped doing movie reviews, and absolutely will be starting to do that once again in the near future. But I didn't want to review movies in general, especially new movies, that I wasn't seeing at the theater. I think that's the experience that you should have. Now, if I'm going to talk about an old movie, which I do in some of my movie reviews that you can read, and all the content that I've ever done since November 2018 is still archived at DannyKlinkscale.com. And well, you're obviously going to talk about old movies generally, although you can occasionally see them in a special showing at a big theater, but from watching them on television. But anyway, on the whole, I wanted to do fresh movie reviews that I saw in the theater, and I will start to do that again soon. But the main focus indeed has become the podcast, and I do a lot of podcasts. Maybe I do a couple too many for my personal workload, but I enjoy doing them, and I didn't want them just to be about sports. And I would say that more than half of my podcasts indeed are about sports. Most of the Kansas City profiles reflect in some way about sports. Not all, certainly. Probably 2/3. I obviously do a weekly podcast on Mondays that is strictly about sports. But I wanted to branch out, and I did branch out. And every other week I do a musical podcast with Tim Finn, which is basically one of the joys of my life. I enjoy all the things that I do, but that musical podcast weekly with Tim Finn is absolutely a joy. I do a podcast with my wife. I do a podcast called Thirsty Thursdays with a guy named Joe, who we only identify as Joe, and we just talk about stuff, and we're kind of kindred spirits in that regard. And I very much enjoy branching out and being able to do a whole lot of different things to provide different types of entertainment to different types of audiences. The demographics for sports talk radio are sort of in the 35 to 60 range, and maybe 2/3 or a little bit higher male. My demographics, if you're interested in this type of thing, are a little bit younger and a little bit more female because obviously I don't do all sports. Now, there are many, many female sports fans, but maybe they like the fact that I'll talk about the opera or theater or television or movies or music a little bit in the podcast. So I think that reflects in those particular things. But indeed, I wanted to branch out and was able to branch out. And one of the things that I've obviously has been a keynote, and it's the most popular podcast, are the Kansas City Profiles presented by Easton Roofing, who has been my biggest and major sponsor since the outset, and really couldn't have made this enterprise work without Joe Spiker and his fine company and his friendship that we have so much developed. And we have done Kansas City Profiles on Dayton Moore, Ryan Lefevre, many, many baseball players, football players like Jan Stenerud, Tim Grunhart. We've done Bob Kendrick from the Negro Leagues Museum. We've done profiles about topics, too, from Jackie Robinson to downtown baseball, Kansas City Scholars Program, such a wonderful program that gives scholarships to deserving underprivileged teenagers who maybe wouldn't have gone to college otherwise. We've talked to many authors. We've talked about inner city golf just recently. That was a great thing. Music, of course, is part of the Kansas City Profiles as well. We talked to Bob Walkenhorst from the Rainmakers and Colby Guile and many area musicians, and that's really, really a fun part of it as well. And it's just been an enterprise that I feel like has provided a wide array of things that really make my life more interesting and hopefully your life a little bit more interesting too. One of the things, if you're listening to this, that I think is a little bit undervalued at DannyKlinkscale.com is the team news and buzz. And all of our area teams have rotating stories that you can access in one stop at DannyKlinkscale.com. And the numbers there are good, but I thought they might be better. I thought what I was trying to create was a place where you could get up in the morning and grab your cup of coffee. And if you wanted to catch up on the sports news, you could do that. If you had time for a podcast, you could do that. If you wanted to do a little reading, you could do that. And I think that has all worked. But maybe the thing that has worked not quite as well as I thought it would work, and I think that I'm just trying to create a little more awareness of that right here, is the team news and buzz. And that certainly is something that I think people should access a little bit more and enjoy and make a part of their regular routine, because that's the way I planned it, and that's the way I think it could and should work and has worked to a certain degree, but I'd like for it to work just that much better. Well, coming up next, I want to talk about some of the things in the future, some of the things, people that I want to thank. And, you know, this is not any kind of closure here. This is just a look to the future as we close in on 500 podcasts and 2.5 years of DannyKlinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And it's fun for me to reflect a little bit here as we've gone through about 30 months of making this enterprise work with the help of you and with the help of people I'm going to mention next right here on Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with David Schmidt from Private Capital. And David, tell us more about your outstanding firm.
Thanks, Danny. Here at Private Capital, we focus on return on asset. In today's world, it is survival of the fittest. We look at things from all angles and try to figure out what works best for you. The changes we will see this next year on assets will be monumental. The key to success is knowledge. Know where you want to go, and we'll be here along the way. To find out more, give us a call at 816-221-7775.
David Schmidt from Private Capital with the best service for you. The bitter cold snap in February was just another intense reminder of how important it is to have a quality heating and cooling company on your side. That's why you need to know about my friends at Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Jeff Dillon and his top-quality staff provide honest, affordable, and reliable service all year long. Their number one priority is taking care of the customer and focus on being genuine, always following through and standing behind what they say and do. If you need HVAC or AC repair, it's important you get help from a team of professionals. Dillon's Heating and Cooling's team can walk you through a range of products, the advantages of heating and cooling systems, and ultimately help you find the best HVAC system for you. They're always glad to answer your questions and set up an appointment for an installation consultation. Whether you're looking to upgrade to a newer model of your current system or need one installed in a new home, give my friends at Dillon's Heating and Cooling a call today at 913-214-0529. That's 913-214-0529, or visit dillonsheatingandcooling.com to answer all of your questions. Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Their slogan is their goal, always treating you like family.
Right now, it's more important than ever to support local businesses. And 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence is open and ready to take care of you. Make 23rd Street Brewery part of your KU game day experience, whether you watch the game there or grab curbside pickup for your tailgates or watch parties.
But not just game days. 23rd Street Brewery is great any day of the week, and when the weather's nice, you can take advantage of their heaters on the patio. 23rd Street Brewery is open daily from 11:30 to 9 for dine-in, carry-out, curbside pickup, and can even help with your catering needs.
So support local and visit a Lawrence favorite, 23rd Street Brewery.
We're here with Michael Barber, the CEO and founder of Microlight Corporation of America, the world leaders in laser therapy. And Michael, tell us a little bit about your product.
Our device is using a particular wavelength and power to reduce pain and swelling. My background is surgical lasers, but I've been involved with this particular device now for about the last 20 years, actually.
And I know that it works because I've had it used on me as well. And tell us about the relationship you have with your company and Canaway.
It's what I call a strategic business relationship, in that Canaway, the leader in the field of the cannabinoid systems and CBD oil, but our device used in conjunction with Canaway CBD oil gives a better pain relief outcome for the patient.
And if you want to get that pain relief outcome like I did, you can reach their local representative, Sherry McCants, at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back to a little information and conversation and perhaps regeneration of DannyKlinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast for you, a personal look at what makes it tick and what makes me tick a little bit. And, you know, I've for a long time, the title of the podcast, obviously, is the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And what that means is that I've always tried to be a little bit offbeat. My personality is like that, but I also like to be fact-based and reasonable and try to look at both sides of a story, and maybe I do that to a fault. As a matter of fact, I'm an ultra-logical person, and maybe that manifests itself in good ways, and maybe it manifests itself in not-so-good ways sometimes. One definite adjustment in my world is this is a business, obviously. It is a business that I run. I spent my entire career basically being in a position, except for self-publishing and writing my own book, basically working for someone else and just getting paid by someone else and having them pay for your insurance and do things like that, and get the little trade deals that are such a part of the radio business as well. And to be brutally honest, that is easier. That is an easier thing. Now, having your own business is a very rewarding thing. You get to make your own decisions. You get to set your own schedule, although my schedule is pretty much set by the fact that there's so much to do at DannyKlinkscale.com and the podcasts that I do. But in the end, there are real great pros and cons about both. But one thing I probably don't have the greatest knack for throughout my career has been sales. I always like to go out with sales professionals and tout the product that we did, which was a great product in all the stops that I did, and I think I'm good at that. But there's a certain inherent reluctance to sell yourself, period, which is what you have to do when you're selling DannyKlinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast, because although the numbers are very, very good on this podcast, a part of the appeal that many of the sponsors appreciate is the fact that there is a good brand, that people respect the brand of Danny Klinkscale and that it reflects well on their business. And we've had many, many great sponsors, some that have existed through the entire run, some that have come and gone and returned. And among the people who are here right now, Easton Roofing, Cinematic Visions, Dillon's Heating and Cooling, Pro Millennial, all kinds of different people that have contributed to the well-being of DannyKlinkscale.com, and I can't thank those people enough. And thankfully, the good part of becoming a quote-unquote salesperson, however good I am at it or not, is that you establish relationships and, in some cases, really good friendships from that aspect of trying to reach out and tell people that it would be good for their business to be associated with DannyClinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Now, we are talking about the fact that the pandemic affected everybody. If you worked for somebody else, you might not have gone to that office place. You may have seen your work load slow down. You perhaps have seen a layoff. You perhaps have struggled with being at home all the time. In the case of this particular business, it's difficult for people to decide to spend money on their business during the time of a great uncertainty, and it's a struggle for a business to try and get through it, and I'm sure anybody out there who has their own business can highly relate. One excellent aspect of it for DannyClinkscale.com was the fact that people were at home a lot and they had time on their hands, and for a period of time, for instance, there was no sports on television. The entertainment choices were more limited, and my numbers as far as listenership and readership skyrocketed during the time of COVID, and that's a great thing. Translating that into business was a little bit more difficult, but that has started to heat up again, and you don't want to hear all those particular details. But one thing I wanted to reach out to this audience today is to elicit some suggestions from you as to what you might want to see at DannyClinkscale.com, a little bit more or a little bit less. And I'd love to hear from you at Danny@DannyClinkscale.com. That's my email address. Don't be shy about reaching out and asking some questions or making some suggestions or making some criticisms. You get that all the time in this business anyway, so it is not taken personally, and unless it's profane or just plain rude, I don't mind it in any way, shape, or form. One of the things we're looking forward to as we get out of the status of COVID and we're taking our masks off and everything else is to develop what I was starting to develop or looking to develop when the pandemic started, which is a lot more interaction in live settings and going out to bars and restaurants and ball games and things like that. And certainly as the weather gets great this summertime, we're looking to do that. I have hundreds of members of the Clinkscale Club, probably have not been as dedicated during the time of COVID to providing them with some fresh material and newsletters and events like we did at the very outset. You don't pay to be in the Clinkscale Club, so I'm not going to, it's not as if they're not getting their money's worth because they're not spending any money. But also now I have a site at patreon.com/DannyClinkscale, and you do pay for that, a nominal fee. There are several levels at it, and you get different things. I do a podcast with Kevin Keatsman, which is at a certain level. At the base level, which is only $3 a month, all the content that I do basically for free at DannyClinkscale.com is also posted there, but without the commercials because people are paying. And so you can get to do it both ways. The audience is much larger as far as the free site is concerned, but it is a dedicated small audience. There at patreon.com/DannyClinkscale. And if you're a member, thank you. If you're a patron, thank you. And if you'd like to suggest it to other people, that would be a great thing as well. I'm looking to the future with great excitement. Just wanted to take some time today to thank everyone and show my appreciation for a time that has been challenging and interesting, and looking forward to making it even more interesting for you, maybe even more challenging for me. And as I conclude this little mini podcast of thanks and reflection, now that you've made it all the way through, the first 5 people who reach out to me at Danny@DannyClinkscale.com and request one of the 3 prizes will win either a T-shirt or a copy of Leaving Cancer for the Circus, or a gift certificate to the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. Any one of those 3 can be had by just, you indicate which one you would want by sending an email to Danny@DannyClinkscale.com, and you will receive that. I'll ship it out to you pronto, and I appreciate you doing me a little indulgence today and listening to me reflect on the near 500 podcasts and the 2.5 years of Danny at DannyClinkscale.com. And as I said, I would really love to get some feedback from you as far as what you think of the website, the podcast, and some suggestions to make it even better. Thanks a lot. We look to the future. I appreciate it. And Join me many times a week right here at DannyKlinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent Podcast.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent Podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent Podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.